watching Morning at NTV.
Welcome to Morning at NTV, and today I am riding solo without Mabel but at the NTV studios, and the guys are already up at the International Conference Center, of course, the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. It's going to be an awesome Thursday because why? Tomorrow is Friday. Looking forward into it. Let's get you started with our question of the day. Good morning. There you go. Let's test your geography. Go into our Facebook page, Morning at NTV. You can also tweet it at Morning at NTV. The first 5 respondents each walk away with a beautiful mug from Morning at NTV. And of course, feel free to tag us on our individual handles at MBGold2, at Dakaba Chigongo, at Kasiate, at Joel Senyun, and of course at NTV Uganda. Remember, you can visit our website also, which is live, brand new website. That's www.ntvuganda.co.ug. And of course, good luck to all of you. And of course, we'll start this morning with some very awesome, some of them sad, stories that are shaping the headlines this Thursday morning.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Once again, a very warm welcome to Morning at NTV. I'm Brian Mulondo. Now, on to the stories that are making headlines this morning. The president has once again been sucked into the multi-billion-dollar railway deal as bidding dogfights between rival Chinese firms continue to delay the construction of the Standard Gauge railway line. According to a letter recently authored by the president, Museveni appoints a team to quickly resolve this deadlock. However, appointment of a lawyer, the former PPDA boss Edgar Agaba, on the team has been greeted with apprehension because he has been representing one of the Chinese firms.
You have got to tell us, are you here to exploit the poor or are you here to serve the poor?
I would rather rot in jail than committing suicide.
As controversy continues to swirl over the multi-billion-dollar railway deal, the president has now appointed a team to resolve the impasse pitting 2 rival Chinese firms. According to a letter in possession of NTV, authored by the president, dated 11th August 2014, Museveni appoints a team comprising of the acting director of civil litigation, Cheborion Barishaki, and the head of the UPDF engineering department, Sabit Mutebile. The president also directs that Agaba Muhairi and company advocates be appointed to give legal advice to the team. However, the appointment of this law firm has raised eyebrows. There are fears that there could be a conflict of interest because one of the partners at the law firm, Edgar Agaba, has been representing one of the rival firms, China Harbour Engineering Corporation. The president also directs that, and I quote, the negotiations must be complete by 15th August 2014. Since this is a bilateral arrangement, the same team should continue to negotiate with the companies I earlier communicated to you and ensure MOUs are signed by 25th August 2014. He further writes, and I quote, please note that as I indicated in my earlier letter to you, we have to launch the standard gauge railway project in October 2014. The genesis of the latest conflict started on June 8th when the Minister of State for Works, John Byabagambi, terminated a memorandum of understanding between government and the Chinese firm China Civil Engineering and Construction Corporation for the upgrade of Uganda Railway's Eastern Line. The minister ignored passionate pleas from his colleagues, the Attorney General, Solicitor General, the Justice Minister and Ethics Minister, who were against him awarding the deal to another Chinese company, China Harbour Engineering Corporation. These government officials expressed fear that the taxpayer could pay billions of shillings in litigation costs if the Chinese firm which carried out a costly feasibility study is not awarded the deal. Court has since then ruled that the minister acted arbitrarily in the cancellation of the deal and quashed his decision. According to a due diligence report by the Minister for Works and Transport, Abraham Biandala, China Harbour Engineering Corporation has a limited experience of 5 years. Only yesterday, Byabagamba came under fire in Parliament from lawmakers who warned him that he could face censure for his actions.
Cost of compensation of these feasibility studies, in case the contract is cancelled, will cost Ugandan taxpayers 160 billion shillings.
But how many roads are those? How much money, the minister will tell me, how much money does my Katafi road need?
In response, Byabagamba claims that his involvement is to protect government from sharks who want to profiteer from the deal.
I'm not interested in check. I'm not interested in CCECC. Whoever takes a contract, provided he takes it on clear terms and following the clear guidance, procurement guidance. I don't mind about that one.
Emmanuel Mutaizibwa, NTV.
Well, definitely can't wait to start riding on those trains whenever they start. Now, on to another story. The Parliamentary Select Committee investigating the mismanagement of NSSF funds has learned that Umeme Holdings is no longer the majority shareholder in the company. The revelation has raised concern among lawmakers on whether Umeme is still the legally recognized company government contracted to distribute power in Uganda. Deputy Secretary to the Treasury, Patrick Ochialap, who is also a member of the NSSF board, told the committee that Umeme Holdings holds only 15% shares from the original 60%. Jingo Francis reports.
As investigations into the illegal purchase of Umeme shares by NSSF continue, it is emerging that the national distribution of power role is now in the hands of another investor other than Umeme. Deputy Secretary to the Treasury Patrick Ochialap, who is an NSSF body member, revealed that Umeme Holdings now holds only 15% from the original 60%.
Parliamentary Commission has bought shares in Umeme. I'm raising my voice because you think investment in Umeme is bad.
This revelation raised eyebrows among lawmakers who wondered whether Umeme can still be the illegally recognized power distributor in Uganda.
Who are we dealing with? Yes, we are getting a lot of profits. People are bragging around here.
The regulatory authority equally gave a no objection for NSSF to go ahead with investment.
That whereas ERA issued a letter of no objection during the IPO, during the second procurement of shares, ERA has never issued a letter of no objection.
It is emerging that when Parliament investigated the energy sector 2 years ago, Umeme's lead investor Actis and the ESCOM pulled out. The evidence before Parliament shows that this forced Umeme Holdings to float shares on the stock exchange to seek for more funds. The committee learned that the lead shareholder in Umeme is now Investec with 18.5%, followed by a consortium of smaller companies by 17%. Umeme Holdings has 15% and NSSF 14.3%. The document also shows that Investec is owned by businessman Patrick Bitature, who chairs the Umeme board. Last week, the NSSF acting managing director told the committee that NSSF bought 100 million shares worth 70 billion shillings. But documents NTV has obtained indicate that NSSF first bought shares of 51 billion shillings, then recently purchased more at 34 billion shillings, raising the total NSSF investment into Umeme to 85 billion shillings. Patrick Ochialap also disclosed that the finance minister's letter blocking the shares purchase was overtaken by events since the NSSF board had already taken a decision.
I reiterate that it is impossible for me to grant immediate approval of the proposed transaction, given the short notice given. Of course,
the decision to buy shares or not to buy shares was on 8th.
And when was the minister's letter?
13th of May.
but Ochairap defended the body's decision, saying it was worth investing into Umeme, which has made about 70 billion shillings in profit. Parliament's energy probe recommended the cancellation of Umeme's concession, but Ochairap says it would cost the government of Uganda about 450 billion shillings in compensation. Jingo Francis, NTV, Parliament.
An organization indeed dogged by controversy, NSSF there. Now, the Church of Uganda has asked the government to help it complete its church house building. Groundbreaking for the building on Kampala Road was done in 2003 and construction started 7 years later in 2010. But for some time, work on the church house had been on hold. This announcement was at the opening ceremony of the 22nd Provincial Assembly at the Uganda Christian University, Mukono. It was officially launched by Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga.
This is what the church house building that belongs to the Church of Uganda looks like today, 11 years after the groundbreaking ceremony. The original construction cost was about 40 billion shillings, but for a long time now, work has been paused. According to the church, its sources of income are limited.
One of the assets are land measuring 260 acres, in which we anticipated to raise Uganda shillings for 4 billion, has to date been difficult to sell because of the squatters.
Archbishop Stanley Ntagali revealed this at the opening ceremony of the 22nd Provincial Assembly held at Uganda Christian University in Mukono. Ntagali's appeal to President Museveni is for him to organize a fundraising function to enable them complete construction.
We therefore request the President, through you, Honorable Speaker, to give us a date and venue to enable us communicate to the concerned individuals for this dinner.
The Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, who officially opened the assembly, promised to remind President Museveni about the church house project.
I'll be seeing the President a bit later today, so I'm going to remind him about this very long, outstanding proposal for a presidential dinner to support the church house project.
According to the church, the value-added tax which was introduced in the 2014-2015 financial year budget has also been a hindrance.
We made a request through you for government assistance through a waiver and granting of VAT exemption of US dollars 2,218,147.34 pence.
Kadaga has requested the church to participate in helping Parliament to uphold Uganda's moral values.
Parliament has a difficult role in that sometimes, and very, very frequently, we stand between the interests of the state and the interests of the population. But keep praying for us so that we can continue doing the needful.
The theme of this assembly is, "Be transformed by the renewal of your mind." It will be concluded this Friday. Solomon Kawesa, NTV.
And to catch more of those stories, feel free to log on to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, and of course, head over to NTV official handle, which is at NTV Uganda. You can also go to youtube.com/NTV Uganda/live and also be uploading some of those stories. And of course, share with us what you think about some of these things. The church house also starting some kind of a tofali here. Now, on to the gentlemen who are at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel, and Simon and Joel. Simon, from NADS to the railway and now to Miss Uganda. The army is all over the place and now has been tipped to take over Miss Uganda beauty contest. How worse can it get for the men who are charged with maintaining security? Are we seeing more security that will be probably employed at the Miss Uganda beauty contest?
Well, good morning, Brian, myself, and Joel here standing by the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. Indeed, we are reading with great interest the story of the army taking over the Miss Uganda franchise. But of course, let's look at the history of the Miss Uganda franchise. We've had many Miss Ugandas, yes, but we've had a change of hands between one organizer to another. And I, being a benefactor of one of those that won the Miss Uganda crown in 2007, I can tell you that many of these organizers for the Miss Uganda pageant, especially that particular organizing committee that organized my sister's Miss Uganda thing, was not up to the task given the kind of maltreatment that they subjected her and the odium they subjected her to, thanks to the fact that possibly she had a very strong benefactor in myself. Otherwise, I think many of our girls get molested and used by these organizers in more ways than one. Perhaps the army will come and solve this. That's a question that we can all just debate about and wait for when the rubber hits the road. But otherwise, we have plenty of stories featuring in today's newspapers as we have with us. We've got the Daily Monitor, as usual, the Red Pepper, and of course, the Weekly Independent is out on the streets this morning. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's the 21st day of August 2014. Good morning and welcome to Morning at NTV's Press Review with just a dynamic duo of myself and Joel. Good morning, Joel.
Good morning.
Yes, Brian, this time around is sitting in for Mabel, who is not in position to be with us this morning for reasons that you'll soon get to know when we declassify them. UPDF take over Miss Uganda crown. Let's start from you, Joel. What do you think about this? Aren't we seeing an interesting perspective? But of course, they give their reasons that it's in line with the grand scheme of promoting agriculture. Many times we've got Miss Uganda contestants who can hardly answer any question with regard to anything beyond social issues. But now they're saying we have to give some oomph to the whole pageant and make them grounded with regard to matters like agriculture, tourism, those aspects that maybe bring food on the table for most Ugandans.
I think it's erroneous. I don't know. Why do we seem to see history repeating itself in a rather more surreptitious way this time around? Because the army has always been preponderant in the past. And that's the biggest issue we had. Now we have the army all over the place. I saw a story in the Independent, you know, talking about the army in one of those countries. They are giving away vegetables, they're involved in what, etc., etc. It's the same thing we seem to be doing here. I don't know, of course,
a good thing or bad thing?
I am a little ambivalent. I think the army is everywhere.
Let's use words we understand.
I'm hard-pressed. I don't know which side to fall on. The Miss Uganda pageant, like you say, has had issues. Quandaries after quandaries. So I think maybe somebody who's up to the task should take over. Whether or not it is the army, I don't know. I think the army needs to stick to the work that is cut out for them. We see them all over the place. Manya now giving out, I don't know what, nuts and so on.
Diversification of tasks.
I don't know. It sounds tricky because we're going to get to a point where we feel we cannot do away with that. I mean, we can't do without this army and that kind of thing. And in the past, that is how we slowly but surely...
But there's never been a chance where you cannot do away without, unless you're not a state anymore, you cannot do away without an army.
Not in this particular case. I think they're everywhere and anywhere. I don't know. It leaves a bad taste in our mouths.
Well, I think the army has done a tremendous job wherever they have been, especially outside their realms of defense. For example, we know that their presence in Parliament, for the most part, as listening posts that they are supposed to be.
Really?
I mean, given, to be very honest, anything in that Parliament.
I don't sit in that August House, but I know everything, literally everything that goes on there. So I think that alibi...
I can tell you, anything in that Parliament will do a more commendable job than the current group.
I hear you then, I do hear you.
Well, working up to a headline story that's coming in again from the usual place called Parliament, where everything seems to be coming from. Umeme targeted NSSF since 2004, alleges parliamentary investigation into alleged corruption at the National Social Security Fund. The corruption allegations are that NSSF used my money and your money if you're not a member of parliament, because members of parliament do not subscribe to NSSF. They are not subscribed to NSSF. They have their reasons as to why they don't put their huge sums of money, 15% into NSSF. They have their own private pension fund, which, by the way, also made the decision to invest in Umeme. They have reaped huge benefits and dividends, and here they are. For them, it is good to invest in Umeme. For us, who painfully and who work for the money we put in NSSF, and as opposed to many of them in the house who don't work for that money but just earn it. Joel, anyway, I don't want to rant, but I am telling you, I am sick to the gut by the grandstanding and the sheer dishonesty of this August House.
And you're not alone. You're not alone. Many of us feel that way. But let me try and cut them
and you see, what hurts me is that even seemingly reasonable members of that House, they get to a point where, as if they're in a trance, or they just possibly do not want to be seen to... I mean, Honorable Hunda would have for once sought to seek some more information.
Is that the one for Toto or something?
He's a very reasonable guy by all standards, a nice guy by all standards. He has his head firmly screwed on his shoulders. But I think sometimes because of the trust that, you know, when you associate, like they say in my tribe, when you rub yourself against an ant, you start to look like one. I think for the Honorable and many of very good, well-meaning people are beginning to lose it because you cannot be a small island of excellence in a sea of desolate and incompetence. You look at the posture, the kind of you know, the allegations they make, and you say, if this guy stopped and sought some more information and clarification, he possibly will be saying the kind of things that he's saying. For you, as the parliamentary pensions, whatever you call it, it's okay to invest in Umeme. You reap these huge benefits. And for we at NSSF, you want our monies to be collected in there, kept in the consolidated fund there as one lump sum, not invested anywhere, and we wait for you to start begging the president for bailouts on your own loans, and then he vends the consolidated fund, gets our money from NSSF and uses it to give you for your own pecuniary needs. I can tell you. And then all these seemingly endless investigations into NSSF and all these cash cow institutions. You think they're doing it for the general good?
And well,
I hasten to add that those investigations you see about, I mean, I was a journalist here when I was covering this Temangalo thing here. And I can tell you without fear of contradiction. One day when I have declassified the kind of information I picked up from that investigation, you will spit on most of these MPs you're talking about.
Did you swear an oath of secrecy or something?
Well, you see, as a journalist, I still have some decency to say, you know, of course, you know, what we publish is about maybe 30% of what we actually know. If we published everything we knew, or if we said everything we knew, I'm telling you, many of these guys you see walking around.
Maybe we should, so that, you know, we get to decipher who
one
these guys
day,
really are.
I can tell you, one day, and why do you think I keep going on and the caliber of members of Parliament, I keep going on? Remember?
So tell us what you know, so that we also
I'm
get
not only
as
just a journalist here, but I'm also
living.
involved in the private sector. And you also know that the company for which I work, ESCOM, has a parliamentary recommendation that they should be, you know, the contract should be kicked out and all that. So in essence, you'd expect me to be playing nice to members of Parliament, also they don't kick out ESCOM. But I can tell you, given the kind of information I know, both at an institutional and personal level of most of these MPs, many of them would be shy to even stand on a parallel platform and try to challenge me.
Maybe we should open the Pandora's box. But you know,
let me cut them some slack. I know that they watch this program on a daily. They know that I hold them in very low regard because of much of the things that they do behind the scenes, many of which I know and I have seen with my own. And I have them documented, even some pictorial.
Simon, you're doing us a disservice then. You know,
I am not making a threat, but I'm simply telling you, let them not think that the public is so gullible and that there are no people out there. Yes, but there are people out there like myself who have got this information, and good enough we have got the benefit of platform. I can tell you, one day the sun will rise and I will put them on the table.
Look, like you say, I know personally as well, some good guys in that house, but of course now they're encapsulated in this whole bunch of everybody, and it's difficult for them to stand out. But let me try and cut these people some slack. Simon, I'll tell you, I'm a regulation freak. I like things done the right way. You know, I don't believe so much in the end justifies the means. I think that does not count it sometimes. I'm interested in the means as well. You know, how did you get there? If you are a child and you scored 4 aggregates, I'm excited. I'm excited about the ends. But how did you get there? You could have cheated and that kind of thing. So, assuming this is their motive of, look, yes, we've gotten a good deal. Umeme is making profits. As Parliament, we are benefiting as MPs, and of course, private individuals that invested monies in Umeme, they're making some good money, you know. But in this particular one of NSSF, yes, we made some good money, you know, those of us that subscribe to NSSF and that kind of thing. But how, I mean, was it done the right way?
And maybe I'm not asking, what procedure did they break? That they did not listen to the minister's advice that came days after they had made the decision, and yet her decision is not binding. Remember, NSSF has got management, has got board. And it is also within the law that management and the board have certain parameters within which they can make certain decisions. And this decision was within that limit.
Of course, what we hear, ultimately we shall get to come to, you know, some kind of conclusion if we know the real facts that continue to come out.
No, all
because
these
we hear
facts,
that, look,
we've had probes
they were
upon
divided
probes
and
on
so
NSSF.
on.
What has since changed? If anything, we see the NSSF keeps growing bigger. We've seen more people subscribing to NSSF. We've seen NSSF moving from strength to strength. Perhaps we'd even have been
move to
a greater strength had it not been for this plethora of interference and siphoning by these blood-sucking vampires who call themselves members of Parliament.
All right. Campaign to fight HIV among youth using art.
As well as fair enough, then you pulled out the problem. Putting our money where...
All right, I like what I see.
After the president was speaking in Mbale saying that he would rather the growth and development of this country, and he's specifically meaning a picture, interest, and where she made a few promises here and there. I remember at this assembly, the church was begging or asking government to, one, contribute towards the completion of Church House, this almost eternal project that never seems to end. I mean, they broke the ground many years before Mapela House on the other side ground was broken. As you know what's happening at Mapela House, fully functional and all that. They are seeking that government should come in and help them put some money and complete this building. And on the other hand, they are seeking the same government to remove every tax on whatever amenities they need to use to put this house. Now I'm asking myself, on one hand, you're asking a government to help you. Where does government get its money from? It's from taxes. Now you're asking government to waive you of taxes. I mean, and yet every single Sunday, without not much input, you stand at the pulpit and collect money from multitudes of people, giving it with free will, with the hope that the money is transiting from that basket to an eternal coffers in heaven. Anyway.
You know, there are people who believe that one of our biggest problems in this country is the church. And I think I hear them. Because slowly but surely, you see,
No,
you know...
No, we have a bigger problem in Parliament than the church. Give me a church any day.
Well, of course, now the point again is tethered to that as well, you know, because we see many religious leaders of not being with the likes of those people you're talking about. Those we feel,
and
these
now
guys
that
are
the
letting
Speaker
them down.
of Parliament is opening
the
second provincial. Oh, now the merger is going to make things worse.
I hope not. You know, we see them getting pajeros and houses, etc., etc. How exactly are they supposed to remain a voice of sound? A voice of reason, like it were back in the day. The prophets will look the kings in the face and tell them this was hopeless, this was wrong. Our religious leaders today cannot do that, unfortunately.
We're waking up to the story this morning that Egypt is set to open a defense office in Kampala. I'm sure those of you who walk through the leafy environs of Kololo could have seen that office somewhere that is set to be opened sometime in the course of this month. We also told that many over about 200 bus drivers have failed traffic tests, and these continue to ply our roads and plummet many lives into the dredges of indisposition and, of course, ultimately death. It's quite a sad debacle here.
Relatedly, we're told here in the Daily Monitor that traffic resumes checks on long route queues, on long route buses. You see,
it's a knee-jerk reaction.
That's the point. Because you see now that there's been accidents all over the place, people have lost lives. We're going to, you know, run all over the place, do a few things here and there. And after about a month, if that is not too long anyway, all this will dissipate and we get back to business as usual. Not surprising, is it?
Well, here we have an interesting story coming in the red paper this morning. The headline is as shocking as it sounds. Shock is the word. How some 24 billion road cash was shared and Aito boss blew over 300 million on love. And we're talking about, of course, this trending story of the Mukono Katusi Road, where this briefcase representation of a company called Aito in Uganda is having issues. And the Daily Monitor here is giving us a portrait of who this so-called front of Aito is, Apollo Senkento. We are told that this is a man who not only lives large, but also was deported from the United States of America and has been living like a flamboyant bourgeoisie as we see them in this town, pounding huge fuel guzzlers on our streets, wearing flamboyant clothes and looking all suave and debonair. Yet behind it all is simply a mask covering nothing but a thief.
So he was deported, and here we are thinking he was actually sent to represent, you know, this Utah company. But we don't seem to learn for some reason, and I don't know, until we get to a point where we make it so difficult, you know, so ruthless a thing for people to steal. They'll keep stealing, and again, and some more.
Well, today is the day for the Lord Mayor or former Lord Mayor, whichever way you look at it, Elias Lukwago, and someone did quip and say, is he going to be the Lord Mayor or he will be the Road Mayor? In other words, will he be superintending at City Hall or will he hit the road and find some other work to do, possibly go back to his village somewhere close to Lukaya?
Interesting. Quote of the day here in the Daily Monitor. This is by Speaker of Parliament Kadaga on MPs' foreign trips. She says, doesn't the judiciary and civil servants travel? Don't they get accommodation money or do they have houses abroad? I feel for the Speaker. She's caught between a rock and a hard place. She's trying to defend the August House, considering that many of us are disappointed in, you know, the goings on there. And she keeps having to defend the August House. Look, you know, we are trying our best, etc., etc. Tough job for her it is.
Like they say, no man can do better than their best. If indeed the August House, this is their best, then who and we who expected better from them. The Independent this morning is waking up to a headline story that is talking about the grounding of Air Uganda. And we are now told by the Akika that President Museveni is upset as routine audit clips a nation's wings. Was Air Uganda a national carrier?
No, it was not. But well, it is what we had to show. Anyway, it was.
It flew
in some
our
ways,
colors.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And of course, there's been talk about reinstating Uganda Airlines as it were back in the day. And of course, there's some people who will say, look, this thing does not make economic sense. You know, how many Ugandans fly, for example? Should we just have it just so we can have a banner of Uganda and that kind of thing? And I think it's a debate that we should have. I think it's good that we have, you know, the country's airline, but it should make economic sense.
Well, there you have it. We also see the last word coming in from the managing editor of this publication, Andrew Mwenda, telling us about what's behind China's rapid growth. He says the opportunities and risks China faces as it begins its transition from middle income status to a rich nation is what he will be looking at, in his opinion, this morning. Let's not forget that the last one, he was talking about the behind the scenes at the Africa-American Summit. So juxtaposing the two positions would be an interesting read for those of you who are interested in global foreign relation matters. Inside the inner pages of The Independent, we're waking up to a health story that's telling us that overweight can give you cancer. Now, of course, for those of you who are always moralizing matters of smoking and drinking as the perhaps
but
only...
what doesn't cause cancer?
That's
Even
what
the clothes you're wearing this morning say that. It's just that, of course, the likes of tobacco take it a notch higher.
No. You moralists, you grandstanders who want to show that you are holier than thou.
No, not me.
You find a moralist, he's there overeating pizzas and munching away on GMO chicken. And
there are even these songs they sing.
Exactly. No. Now, then in the same breath as he's been, without even swallowing what he's eating, sugar smoking causes cancer, and you ask them, what doesn't cause cancer here? I think for the most part, we need to realize that cancer is real. Indeed, it's reaching epidemic levels in this country, and we must respect and appreciate and adhere to responsible living, which includes and is not limited to the kind of junk eating that we are involved in. You've realized that Ugandans have become fatter, especially the ones we normally meet in these parts of the country.
Oh yes, interestingly. I don't know how they do it. You know, for some reason, I eat. Sometimes I eat like I've been hired, but for some reason, I'm not adding
There are more Ugandans eating per second than Ugandans are smoking per hour. And then you find all effort is geared at banning cigarette smoking, and before they do it, they will now attack us where it hurts most, at beer. Anyway. Now, we have our priorities really mixed up.
You know, after the president did say that ads are useless, there's been a plethora of attacks. In just today's Daily Monitor alone, I can read for you about 4 headlines, you know. These are opinions much of the time. Somebody says we should not kill arts courses, let's invest to improve them. Another person here says Museveni's obsession with science is not helpful. Another one here, we are not a society of robots to declare arts courses useless. One of the letters here in the Daily Monitor, Museveni is wrong on arts courses, and a lot more. Clearly, the president gets the memo. I hope he does.
Well, like I already say, we love our toys, especially the men, but even the women now in today's My Car magazine. I see an interesting front page. Wait a minute. I think I recognize this face.
You do? Yesterday, I saw a lady at, what time was it? Man, some ladies can step the gas. You think men step these gases? I said, but this woman also, she was hitting humps all over the place.
Well, I can see here why your car may fail to start, and I'm seeing the model picture of my own sister trying to start her wonderful piece of German ironmongering. It's now in the family here. We tend to have a liking for only one side.
What is wrong with you, or what is right with you?
I think she's just modeling. It's not true that her car has failed to start. But well, there it is in the Daily Monitor this morning. Reasons as to why your car may fail to start. But of course, the other interesting stories that you may need to get yourself to grips with, especially if you're one of those that grapples with Kampala's traffic and grapples with how to move yourself from point A to point B in a car. Now, Joel, I think this belongs to you.
Does it? Heart to heart, you mean?
Yes, that pull out for good guys looking out for love and to be loved. Share with us, what's in heart to heart this morning, Joel?
I like this question here. Why would a woman make a man cry? I'm not in position to answer this question. Brian Mulondo will probably answer it a lot better for us when he comes up here. Apparently, his woman made him cry.
Not once, and please don't put it in past days. It is Present continuous.
Present continuous. What things
great.
cause couples to fall out? You know, interesting articles here. Sometimes I keep wondering, these guys that write these articles, do they actually have the moral authority to write about these articles? The other day we were, you know, lampooning Uncle BG for writing a book on corruption, and we're thinking, really? Is this a book we want to read and pick tenets from? I don't know. So sometimes I look at these guys, and without in any way trying to sound like, you know, a moralist and that kind of thing, I'm thinking, these guys who tell us stories about Chimanya, how to make it work, etc., etc., is it working for them? I don't know. I hope it is. I hope it is.
Well, if we go down to the sports sections, especially of the Daily Monitor this morning, I'm seeing the headline is about golf, and we're talking about the East African Challenge Trophy, where you know, a formidable team of Ugandan golf players has been assembled. There's an interesting picture of them here, and just to show you that this guy here, Ronald Otile, this young man here from Fort Porto, the national team is one of the tremendously on the greens for this East African.
Uganda cranes, Uganda cranes.
Where the Reds make good of this, and indeed going in for opinion, you're looking at in lifestyle, like I just said earlier on. You just told us, we just heard from Joel when he was reviewing the Heart to Heart magazine, many reasons as to why women will make men cry. Please, we hope that now that you join us for the international news, there are not very many sad stories that could make you cry.
Well, I want to first talk about the reason why a man would cry, and I've seen you guys go at it. Well, here, someone says nothing comes easy, and I guess I had to employ some tactics to make sure that I win the girl, and that was one of them, and finally I succeeded. Maybe someone will borrow your German piece of ironmongery to go and do something, probably drive more than 80 kilometers to go and get the girl. But that's how much you need to do to get her. And of course, you can catch that in Heart to Heart magazine in the Daily Monitor. Now, on to international news. And we'll start with Africa, in Liberia, where Ebola, of course, has still claiming the lives of many, and the Liberian troops have imposed a slum quarantine this time. And yesterday we talked about what Ebola does and how fast it moves and where it came from. And in about 1976, this is when the Ebola virus was detected in the Congo. And of course, it has about 5 strains. And in West Africa, it has claimed more than 1,000 lives, and about 800 people have been hospitalized, and now they are patients. And the origin is really from bats. Okay, people used to eat bats in the Congo, and now see where it has gotten us. The fatality rate can reach 90%, but the current outbreak has about 55%. So that means in the past, about 9 people in every 10 would die. But now about 5 to 10 people die. It's not such a huge improvement. It's still bad, and that's why the whole world is grappling with this. And of course, we also woke up to the news that one of the Nigerian doctors who tried to help out in Nigeria also lost her life, and very, very sad news coming in there. And the Chief Medical Director at Lagos University saying we owe her a lot. She managed the situation like a thorough professional that she was. She has helped Nigeria to contain the epidemic in her own way, and that is Stella Ameyo Adedevo, who is now dead because of this. Very, very sad news coming in from there. But we'll be continuing to update you on what's happening. Now, on to CNN. If you have seen the viral video of a British, American, I guess, journalist who was beheaded by ISIS. Very sad video. Now, what has happened after that? Twitter has actually blocked some of the people who are sharing this video, and the family of James Foley there, saying and urging people not to watch this video, not to share it, and how the video is a semblance of cowardice from the terrorists. And of course, Barack Obama has said they will retaliate and they will make sure that justice is served. But what a sad, sad way. And of course, at the tail end of the video, another journalist is also shown trying, you know, and it's kind of a sign to show that if you don't do what we ask, that is withdraw your troops from Iraq, with this guy here is the next. And James Foley, fine journalist by many who have seen him, and there was a secret mission to get him out of Syria, but it all failed. And yeah, very, very sad story there. You can follow it on the CNN page. The Ferguson in Missouri, U.S. is still again one of the headlines, and the U.S. Attorney General visited Ferguson yesterday, and this follows the shooting of a black man. Now, of course, the questions of racism still going on. Are we past that? Years later, with the work of Martin Luther King and all the people who fought for equality, are we past that? And in a population of about 63% black, why do we only have 3 black policemen? And so that is also a question, and people are walking around raising their hands and saying don't shoot, and we're still following this. We're likely to sue. That's why the Attorney General is going there. But of course you can follow these stories on Reuters, and the U.S. Attorney General has visited following the shooting on the fatal shooting of the black gentleman there. Very, very sad thing. Now, of course, on to Asia, Japan. And this is a hurricane that happened a couple of days ago, and what we saw, many children died after this, ravaged many homes, but of course someone has just told me that we are probably paying the price following our failure to try and help the environment do that is supposed to do. And very sad news also coming in from there. Now, initially, Germany accused the U.S. of spying on it, and I guess it's a tit for tat. This time, Germany has been eavesdropping on conversations by the previous Secretary of State, who was Clinton, and now on Kerry. And this is Der Spiegel has revealed, which is a German magazine, that the German Foreign Intelligence Agency has been eavesdropping on these calls made by the the Secretary of State John Kerry and the predecessor Hillary Clinton. Wow, interesting, right? Karma is never a bad woman. Now, I don't know if you have seen this, and the Ice Bucket Challenge. George Bush takes the Ice Bucket Challenge and demands Bill Clinton do it next. Now, what is the Ice Bucket Challenge? Several celebrities, this challenge has gone viral on all social media platforms. What you do, get a bucket full of ice and load it on, and just pour it over your head. Why? A disease which is really very comprehensive. And what it does, it paralyzes your body. And it paralyzes your body. It paralyzes your body, and what it has done is paralyze one of the athletes who is expecting a baby in about 2 months but cannot move, has stopped playing, and more than 30,000 Americans have this disease. So what they are doing is fundraise to make sure that they save the lives of those people. And so the Ice Bucket Challenge is a symbol of that. George Bush doing a phenomenal job and challenged yeah, here he is, and his wife pouring that bucket on him. We've seen people like Bill Gates do it, Zuckerberg of Facebook also doing it, and they are raising some money there. And of course TMZ, which is like the red pepper of the US, saying that Robin Williams was cremated and his remains, of course, thrown in San Francisco Bay. Very sad story. There's a rumor that he might have committed suicide, found with a belt, but of course we're waiting for the toxicology results, and then the coroner will let us know what actually happened, whether he had any form of toxics in his body, and I will be following that story very closely. Well, that's a wrap for international news. When we come back, the big story. Stay with us.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Hello, doctor.
Hello.
Are you feeling okay today?
I should be the one asking you that.
Me, I'm very fine. I'm just calling to check on you. You're sure you're okay? No headache, no fever?
But you, man.
Okay, doctor. Just checking.
Make a call for whatever reason. Call someone, call anyone, and change your life. Make a call and you could win 100 million shillings, a car, or a smartphone with free data for a year. Plus, win 2 free minutes every day.
Airtel. Together we can.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
It's exactly 10 on to 8 o'clock, and we'll cross over to Simon for the big story. Simon, what do we have on the big story this morning?
Thank you, Brian. I hope I get you loud and clear. We have an interesting discussion on the big story this morning with someone that has been on the big story before, and that time she was here to, appeal on a certain cause, and she's back here to lament that her appeal was possibly not listened to, and she's just running that extra leap of faith so that perhaps the person to whom she appealed can reverse his decision on the decision that they have already taken, or something can be done about that decision to make it a bit more palatable to the taste buds. And what are we talking about here? We're talking about the recently enacted HIV and AIDS law. The last time we were here with Emily Katana, one of those who belongs to the Uganda Network on Law, Ethics and HIV and AIDS, you were making a passionate appeal to the president not to assent to this bill, to the bill as it were, that a few things need to be cleaned up for him to be able to assent to an otherwise wonderful law that would avert the spread and management of HIV and AIDS in this country. We know that on the 31st day of July, the president did stealthily sign this into law in its state, which you questioned. Today, this morning, we are looking at this law as it is and what that means for your fight. We'll be right back. Good morning and welcome to this edition of Morning at NTV's Big Story, and we are looking at the newly enacted HIV and AIDS law. The last time we were here with Millie Katana, who's a member of the Uganda Network on Law, Ethics and HIV and AIDS. She was making a passionate appeal to the president and all the other powers that be to hold it and only assent to this bill as it were after a few cleanups here and there, which we'll articulate in the course of the program. That did not come to pass. The president did at least 3 weeks ago, assent to the bill as it were, a copy of which we have with us on the table. And Millie, to say the least, is devastated, but hanging on the slightest hope that the president will possibly reconsider, send it back for some polishing, and later sign into law what would otherwise be lauded as a tremendous piece of legislation that will promote the management of HIV and AIDS and also help in the fight against it. Good morning, Millie.
Hi, good morning. I'm very happy to be back.
But this time round, very overcast and shadowy.
I'm extremely devastated that His Excellency the President, as you stated on 31st of July, did assent to the HIV Control Act as it was passed by Parliament without necessarily addressing those contentious clauses that we have been pointing out to him, to members of Parliament. And as an HIV prevention activist, a person who is interested in averting the spread of HIV, I'm extremely disappointed that the head of state, who is the champion of HIV prevention in this country and globally, would overlook these particular clauses, which would take this country years back.
Millie, just to jog our memory, because of course you know that in this country we've got a very, prevalent amnesia situation. Jog us and inform us, what are these contentious clauses and what do they say exactly? We know for sure that disclosure of HIV status of people tested is one of those that is stipulated in this law as something that can easily be done.
That's
what
right.
else?
That's right. The most critical contentious clause in this Act as is that mandatory disclosure of one's HIV status without necessarily seeking their consent. And our biggest fear is that the abuse of that clause. It could be to one's employer, it could be to one's parents, it could be to one's neighbors, it could be to
But if you're a parent of a minor with this condition, a minor does possibly not give consent.
That's right. Minors are under the guardianship of their parents or whoever is in charge of them. But once somebody attains the age of majority, then they can take full responsibility for themselves.
Yeah, but if you've disclosed to me that Millie is HIV positive and she's my daughter, she's aged 5 years, what difference does it make when Millie clocks 18? I already know I have been possibly involved in the management of this situation, or even I could have been involved in the abuse or stigmatization of her.
That disclosure of a minor, as long as it is for good intentions, that's welcome, because the first step in managing HIV is knowing one's status.
So you're saying that this particular clause does not give the specificities on when this should be applicable?
Absolutely. And the other a contentious element of this is abuse, where somebody does it for malicious purposes of tarnishing that individual whom they believe are HIV positive. And Clause 18 does give an open, blended category of people who could disclose one's HIV
status.
Exactly.
You did say earlier on that the first step towards the treatment of HIV/AIDS is in fact the knowledge that one is infected.
That's right.
What you are simply saying is that the clause 18, which talks about disclosure, should be fixed in such a way that this disclosure is within the parameters of one, consent from the person tested, and that it is to a certain category of people that are above the pettiness of stigma and abuse.
That's right. And in addition to that, why do we need to disclose one's HIV status in the first place?
You said that disclosure or knowledge that you are infected is perhaps one of those fundamental steps towards managing the condition for somebody.
But as long as I'm an adult, 18 and above, I'm able to manage my life. So I don't need anybody to know my HIV status. Only the medical practitioner who tests me should know my HIV status.
If you were involved in a crime that in fact you also consider to be one of the contentious clauses in there, what they call malicious and deliberate infection of others by someone that is HIV positive. Let's give an example here. If I know that I am HIV positive and deliberately indulge with you sexually or otherwise and in due course infect you, when we are before a court of law, wouldn't the disclosure of my HIV status be important for this trial to go on to prove that I maliciously did it?
The HIV status of an individual in that particular scenario you've described is totally immaterial. What is material is the act of either having a sex without the consent of the other person or having sex with a minor. Some of these provisions are already provided for in other parts of the penal code.
You don't find this proper that if I know I'm HIV positive, I meet a drop-dead gorgeous lady like yourself, I possibly even intend to marry you or possibly want you to sort out my sexual pleasures of the moment. Do you think it is fair for me not to inform you of my HIV status and therefore keep you in blissful ignorance? Before you know it, you are infected just like myself and we part away. Isn't that unfair? Doesn't this law seek to avert such malicious acts like we've seen in the past?
This law intends to apportion blame in sexual encounters that involve adults.
Two consenting adults.
Yes. The responsibility is on either party. No, it's not only on the party with HIV positive.
Consent, as you know, sexual relations should be based on adequate information.
That's right.
If I lie to you,
you've hit it
if I lie to you, isn't it unfair that I have lied to you, and therefore shouldn't we put for full disclosure of everything before us?
And what we are talking about as far as
you
HIV
think it's okay
prevention,
for me to lie to you that I am a rich man and all these cars you see with personalized number plates called Kasiate belong to me, which obviously is not the case. That may not be morbid if you fall in for that kind of lie and indulge with me. But on matters HIV status, isn't it only incumbent that you should have full disclosure so that you can save a life, so that precautionary measures can be taken while you enjoy this interaction?
In the interest of public health, what we are advocating for is for every adult to be wary of the HIV status of the person they're having sex with.
To be suspicious, not wary.
Yeah, I mean, yes, and for that matter, protect yourself. You know, no matter how much somebody tells you they own or half of Kampala,
or how thick and nice looking they look.
Absolutely.
Take precautions.
You must have
if you must do it without protection, take him for a test or her for a test.
No, you must have sex with protection, because you don't know their HIV status. And
So
if you do,
must go without protection, you must
take the responsibility for that action. Let the responsibility not be on the other party.
So the responsibility is for me to protect myself, not for you to protect me.
Because you are an adult of sound mind.
I love that description, Millie. How much do you think you're going to succeed in having this cleaned up to that extent?
As far as...
Because, of course, you know, matters of HIV legislation or these kind of matters, there seems to be a tag to the fact that, you know, they will always go out for the person that is feeling more disenfranchised. And in this case, it's the person who acquires HIV, not one who's been carrying it.
That's the complexity of this whole law. One, how will the courts of law prove that one person actually passed on the infection to the other? The science is there, but it's so complicated. We cannot even treat malaria in this country. Babies are dying of malaria, of malnutrition.
And
what about
proving beyond reasonable doubt that Simon infected Millie,
absolutely,
which could have been Millie infected
exactly. Simon. So why do we give our courts all these complexities to deal with?
What is the other contentious bit about this law? You said there are about 3 contentious clauses that if only those 3 were polished up to the point where you activists want them to be, then this would otherwise be a golden piece of legislation.
Yeah, we like the law, particularly the issues of discrimination in workplaces, in schools, which is a great thing. And broadly speaking, the law should be branded as an HIV management law, not a control law, because there's nowhere in the history of public health where criminalizing the person who is at risk of a disease has produced any positive public health outcomes. It is issues to deal with the root causes. What are the drivers of HIV spread in the country? It is poverty, it's gender inequality, it is illiteracy,
bad cultural practices,
it is lack of access to prevention technologies.
And a population that is with a high propensity to indulge and enjoy
those are the issues that we should be dealing with, not criminalizing people who are at risk of
stigmatization.
Yeah, and stigmatization.
But Millie, you did say, and we see from this law, that this law imposes a fine and a 10-year prison sentence for intentional transmission of HIV and AIDS and 5 years for attempted transmission of AIDS, of HIV. In your understanding, what is attempted
transmission? Again, this is the complexity of this law. How will the courts of law prove the attempted?
Perhaps I would have asked one of the legislators who was passing this bill, and we were expecting the Honorable Chris Baryomunsi, Member of Parliament for Chinchizi East, to join us on this dais. He's a member of the Health Committee of Parliament. He's a medical doctor. He's a member of Parliament. But of course, like I've said previously, as was expected from a member of parliament who drives a better car than Millie, has more motivation than Millie.
I walked here from my home.
He's bigger and taller than Millie. He couldn't make it here on time. And for me, when the train sets off, he doesn't wait for an MP working.
I started walking here at 5 o'clock to be here in good time.
Millie, you're lying. Of course, I am not surprised that Honorable Baryomunsi did not make it here on time. Expectedly, if members of parliament cannot make it in time for their own plenary sessions, I would be hard pressed to imagine that you would make it on time for a press interaction like this one. But let's proceed without members of parliament. After all,
so
what is done cannot be undone.
I'm here to tell Ugandans that the law is now here with us. It has been endorsed by His Excellency the President.
I see the signature there.
The signature is real on the 31st of July. So we need to be aware that now the next step is for the minister who is in charge of this law, who is stipulated as the Minister of Health, to request the Uganda Publishing and Printing Corporation to gazette the law and make it formal. So Ugandans should be aware of this.
These are legalities as they take place. Now, Millie, what, therefore, does this mean for your fight?
You know, two things.
Has all hope been lost?
No, you know, it's just one bit of the battle that is lost, because we are committed. I'm committed to the prevention of HIV in the country and globally. That's why I'm here to speak to the Ugandan public that the law is here.
You are always on time, Millie. I thank you for that. You're one of those I always count on. When I invite you, I know you'll arrive on time.
Because I took it upon me to make sure that Ugandans get informed about HIV and do whatever is within my means to prevent the further spread of HIV.
But now, this rug has been pulled under your feet.
It is being pulled under our feet, but we've not lost it all. We still have the courts of law to which we can challenge those contentious elements.
Right over there, Amelie, are you saying you're going to the courts of law now?
We are seriously considering going to court so that the
Constitutional Court we're talking
the
about.
Constitutional Court to make sure that the contradictory clauses within this law are actually cleaned up.
Cleaned up, aligned, and then
absolutely, because the law talks about control, while at the same time attempting to stigmatize those that would be at risk of contracting HIV.
I'm glad to have you on this show, and perhaps I'll put you away from this law and ask you one or two other questions related to the fight against HIV and AIDS, now that I'm lucky to have you here. And the benefit of our viewers of having you would be that maybe I could ask you one of these questions. Millie, give us, broadly speaking, the status of HIV prevalence in this country. From where you sit, are we getting better? Are we getting worse? What's the situation?
I have some good news to share with Ugandans. We have recent data that is compiled by the Uganda AIDS Commission that for the last approximately 1 year, there is a tendency for the new infections to be declining. And what is responsible for this?
Tell us.
The increased uptake of prevention of mother-to-child transmission, because babies account to a huge percentage of new infections. With the increased uptake of services for pregnant mothers, we are seeing antenatal care, we are seeing a slight decline in the numbers of new infections. Two, the increased uptake of HIV treatment services among adults. This is the good news.
Those who have the disease are aware about it, and they are taking life-saving
medication
treatment.
And what this law is going to do is to deter people from seeking testing services. Because if I know I'll be caught by the mere fact that I know my HIV test status, then I rather not know. That is where we stand. We are standing on the grounds.
Ignorance is bliss.
Absolutely. We are standing on the grounds of public health. Issues that affect the majority of the Ugandan population.
So in other words, you're saying that the good news is that we are seeing the fight against HIV and AIDS taking a debilitating loss, but then we are coming up with a legislation that may seem to reverse these gains that we have already made.
That's right.
It could never have been summarized in a better way and concluded than that, Millie. Thank you so much for joining us for the big story this morning. And of course, you know that we wish you the best of luck when it comes to this fight that you are gallantly taking on. That is certainly a Herculean task.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be right back with Simon Says. Stay with us. Well, you've heard Millie putting across her point, especially that of disappointment that President Yoweri Museveni did assent to the HIV and AIDS control bill, now law, in the state in which they questioned many times. Now, Millie and like-minded activists and practitioners, or whatever you want to call them, have argued that this is a wonderful piece of legislation, if only those contentious clauses, which are not more than 3, are cleaned up. Members of Parliament had all their time to listen to these voices of reason and many others. Possibly in their own rush to ensure that this is passed, they presented a law as it were to the President. The President has assented to it with full knowledge of what he's signing. But the activists like Millie are not relenting. they are seriously considering the option of going to court to show that the Constitutional Court can help in the cleanup of this wonderful piece of legislation, so that's even a lot more better and can align itself in what is otherwise seen as a won battle, or a battle that's being won against the fight on HIV and AIDS. Now, whichever way this goes, at least we know for a fact that there is some steps being taken beyond the rhetoric of A, B, C messages and all the other messages against HIV and AIDS, that now the country is aware that there must be some piece of legislation to manage the scourge that HIV and AIDS is. We can only say we wait with bated breath to ensure that whichever way it is, at the end of it all, we as a country deserve and require a piece of legislation that will inadvertently or invariably help in the management of this scourge. The absence of that piece of legislation and all efforts to manage reverse our gains that have so far been made in the last so many decades. Have a wonderful and, yes, productive morning. We'll be back same time tomorrow with yet another insightful look onto yet another interesting topic. Good morning, and stay tuned to Morning at NTV for more quality programming is coming up your way. We'll be having Everyday Life, and later on, of course, we'll be getting into the realms of sport, where I'm sure my colleague Isma will be telling us what's happening in the Ugandan camp, and we're talking about golf as we prepare for the East African Challenge Trophy.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Stand up to be counted. Brought to you by UBOS. It's your right.
Census is here. Be counted. The information you give is confidential and is only used for planning, policy making, and equitable resource allocation. This leads to improved service delivery to you and your community. So get ready to be counted, starting from 28th August to 6th September 2014. Together we count.
Stand up to be counted. Brought to you by UBOS. It's your right.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Bloody Indians.
Sorry, ma'am.
I am sure there are thieves in your country too, but we Indians never abuse.
Tumani auntie wants to have her eldest son married to our Sandhya.
Why do I look at this photograph right now when I know I don't want to get married? I want to become a police officer.
Ekifo ekimu kissa wamusu n'ekyalo ekiweddeko abamanye bakiraza mumwa. Tugenda kutuuka gy'oli oyogere naffe ebikwata ku kyalo kyo, embeera mw'okolera, ebyobufuzi, ebyobulamu n'ensonga endala nnyingi. Ebyogerwa tebiyita. Tuusa eddoboozi lyo, yogera naffe buli lwakuna butereevu ku NTV akawungeezi.
Hey there, Mr. Krabs! Are you ready to party?
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it, move it.
Wow! Hello, fellow motor enthusiasts.
Mr. Krabs!
Isn't there any way for us to return all of them back to normal?
Hey! How'd he do that?
The Red Ranger's a bigger problem than I thought.
It's time to finish this thing up!
What can I do to make them love me again?
What are you drawing, Kitty?
Hello?
King Julian, you are truly inspiring.
Ow! Sponge pot! Fantastic!
You can bring everybody in Parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for their NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am a Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admired President Museveni.
Is the ICC a fascistic code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
Gentlemen, Jesus came to set you free and to be free indeed.
In life, you don't wait. Yeah. There are certain times where you wait for certain decisions, but when it comes to taking action and choices, you have to move.
Jesus Christ found me, and he actually asked me a question, whether I wanted to live or to die.
Every day of my life was struggling. It's just that God has given me this kind of hope.
GXP every Sunday only on NTV, your official inspiration station.
I'm going to blow your mind and I'm going to twist your taste buds. The flavors are already coming together. I can feel them. Very lovely, very appetizing, very healthy. Remember, the way you see it, the way you like it, is the way you get it from my kitchen to your kitchen.
On the next episode, brought to you by...
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
Calm down, man. It was just a joke. Just a joke? You brought me to this place to have me killed.
Natasha fell from the balcony. Ernestina saw him fleeing from the scene, and he's gone.
There's something fishy about this whole story.
He fired the girl at the party, and then she shows up dead in the garden at his house, and he's gone, so he's the prime suspect.
No. This doesn't make sense.
You can download movies at the lowest prices and never fast from Orange. Dial *133# to buy a data bundle. Happy hour changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
A very good morning to you if you're just joining us. Thank you so much for staying with us. And I was now at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. And this morning on Everyday Life, we're going to look at one of the reasons that has been fronted by many people, saying that 40% of girls are missing out on school, especially when they get to the adolescent age. Why? They have periods, most of them are being laughed at and stigmatized at school. Does this call then for the attention of boys? When do we involve boys in girl sexuality to help them, to support them? What do boys need to know about adolescence age of girls? We'll be right back. Aaron Tumusime joining us this morning, who is a counseling psychologist. Oh, it's the other way around. Counseling psychologist. Yes. Okay, for the benefit of people who are watching us, there's a psychiatrist, there's a counselor, there's a counseling psychologist, and there's just a psychologist, right? Mm-hmm. Community psychologist. Mm-hmm. What is the difference? What is the difference?
The difference is that a counselor, anyone who has done a master's and above, is called a counseling psychologist. But anyone with a degree and a certificate, that is a counselor. Then for the psychiatrists, counselors deal with normal people, but psychiatrists deal with people who beyond normal, so who are not mentally okay. Okay. That is the difference. Then in other fields, like there are also people who have studied psychology, but outside that one, it could be community psychology. So any part of, they are also psychologists. Okay. Then what do therapists do? The therapist is a term which is applied to all those people who help people to get better. A therapy is like a medication. It is like helping people get better. Yeah, that is therapy. So it can be those applied, those are therapists, but they should be categorized under different categories. Yeah, because last time, you know, some people were asking us, now you talk about therapy, but what about a psychiatrist? What do they do? When we're talking about depression, and people couldn't get the difference. So I hope you have this morning. Yes. Aaron, staggering, you know, statistics, 40% of girls drop out of school, especially during when they are going through the menstrual cycle. And one of the reasons is not because they're going through it, but they're embarrassed because at school, boys are, you know, laughing at them and stigmatizing them. So the girls feel, why do I have to go back to school? Let me stay at home, because this is probably going to be there for long. What do boys need to know about girls' adolescent age or the body changes they go through? Yeah, that is very interesting and quite unfortunate that the girls actually get out of school when in the actual sense what they go through is actually life. Getting into periods is actually life. That tells you that yes, life has begun. Blood is life. Life has begun, and meaning that that person has just started the time of growing up. Right. But unfortunately, if we have body changes, as we grow, we have body changes, and it happens to both girls and boys. Yeah. And when it is not, when these boys and girls or young children are not prepared, things that would be bringing happiness in their lives, instead they traumatize them. Things that are wonderful and things that are good, they become bad because these children have not been prepared. Ideally, they should be celebrating the adolescence. Absolutely, because that is when you look at boys. A boy, when he gets a small beard, there may be like 2 or 3. You keep on the hand doing like that, meaning that life has come. Yes, now I'm a man. So the same thing would be happening. That if a lady, a young girl, gets into periods, would be celebrating that finally I have become a woman or a girl. The same thing when breasts do come. So basically, it is a lack of knowledge on the part, most especially, of girls. Not only girls, but also boys. When we look at girls, most cases, who is supposed to tell them? Yes. In our culture, they say it takes a village to raise a child. And what does that mean? It means to begin with the immediate people who are within the family, and these are parents, the siblings, the sister, the brother,
to know about these things. So that if, for example, the parents did a good job to take through the firstborn and maybe the first girl and the first boy through different things of how growth and development of children. At this age, you are going to experience this one. At this age, you are going to see this one. At this age, you are going to see this one. It helps these children that when they see certain things, they are not shocked. They instead welcome them because after all, they expect them to come. And it would also be very instrumental that you are passing on information from this child, but this child also can pass it on to the siblings.
Child.
Yes.
Right.
So that at the end of the day, they help them to know that, yes, certain things are coming, and when they come, don't get worried. I have ever told you here about the experience that when I was doing my master's degree in counseling, I was a deputy headmaster somewhere. And when I was in a class teaching senior ones, I realized that one of the girls actually was uncomfortable.
Yes.
So after that, I called her to the office and said, I saw you uncomfortable. What could be the reason? I'm here to help. Then the girl told me, you see, there is nothing. Then when I insisted, she said, you see, the things that I have are for women. So you as a man, you will not be able to manage. But I said, no, look, I'm a counselor and I'm a parent. So I will be in a position to help. So she told me, I have seen blood come out of the of my private parts. Then I was in a position to explain that, look, that is life. That is the beginning of telling you that you have actually grown up. It is not a bad thing, it is a good thing, only that you've not been informed about it. So what I told this, I told this young girl, I told her, now what we need to do is to make sure that we handle it well, but that is good news to you.
Yes.
Unfortunately, she had a sister who was in senior 3, but she had never told this young girl that there was something ABCZ.
Wow.
So what I did to this girl, I told her, now, have you ever heard about using what? Using pads.
Pads.
You using
Yeah,
pads? She said no. I told her, but you have ever heard of pads? She said yes. So what I did to this girl, I told her, wrap a sweater on your bums, and I hired a boda. She was living in some distance, but not very far from school. And I gave her, I remember it was 4,000, that when you reach a shop, buy pads. And I explained how they can use the pads, and I also said on the pads there are also directions. So I paid the boda and they took this girl home. Then later I went to the elder sister and told her, your sister has experienced ABCZ. When you go back home, help her to get familiarized with the use of pads. That was it. So I realized, I actually discovered that children do reach a certain age of even experiencing periods when they have not been told by parents. For this one, this particular one was living with the father in town, but the mother was in the village.
Yeah.
So it is our responsibility as parents, first of all, to help our children know the growth and development that they are going to pass through, or what we call milestones of growth, so that at the end of the day, whichever comes, they are not caught by surprise. They are not surprised.
Do we assume, because I've also interacted with some men who, even when they get up to, get married, they still, we are encouraged to, for example, know the menstrual cycle of our wives. But the thing happens, they're like, hey, already? And we never follow up on this. Do we assume, even for our children, that, yeah, it will happen and they'll experience it? So I don't need to tell her what is ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you look at our culture, sex is never discussed. And now that we don't discuss anything to do with sex and sexuality, we leave things to whom it may concern. Originally, we used to have the rites of passage, whereby, for example, girls at a certain age would be excluded, be taken to a certain place, and be taken through different things as far as culture, their bodies, and growth and development are concerned.
Yes.
And the same thing with boys. And in certain communities, it would culminate into circumcision. But these rituals, those rites of passage, have died a natural death. They are no longer there. And secondly, we also had the aunties and uncles. The aunties would take through these children. When a girl child would be of age, then the mother would send her to the aunt and say, do a good job to this girl. The same thing with boys. But now, some people grow up in the villages and others grow in towns. The aunt maybe is a distance away or some distances or kilometers, good kilometers. So you find that people grow up with their own parents and whose parents are not doing their own responsibility of making sure that they help these children to know the milestones of growth. So at the end of the day, the parents, and also the parents think that at school, they are going to teach these things to children. But also teachers expect that the parents, it is their responsibility, they are supposed to do it. And the parents think the auntie or uncle, they are supposed to do it, even when they have not contacted their uncle and say, I'm going to send you a child so that you do this job. So the children remain in between, in the gap of knowledge. And when those things do happen, they are surprised. And when they are surprised, when the child is at school, and it happens that this child, blood comes, the menstrual period comes unexpectedly, and is laughed at by school members, will not go back to school because he does not see how he's going to see and face the other members, because they are going to jeer up, to jeer her up, they are going to call her sorts of things, and for that reason, a girl child may refuse to go back to school.
What then, what support should boys provide to their sisters or their friends at school when all these things happen? What can, boys, even if they are children, do in those in that cases? Because, parents are watching now and probably pass this information to their children. But also you can help us. Why are parents failing to pass on this sexual education? I know they're assuming that someone else will do that job. But of course you realize eventually when your child comes back home and probably is pregnant and you say, wow, okay, no one has been doing this job. What then should parents do to pass on the sexual education more effectively?
The parents, first of all, they should know that it is their responsibility to pass on information to their children. Because when children get information from other parties, third parties, either, and which they must get anyway, in most cases, if they are in a location where they access information. But remember, there are also those ones who are in the villages. So it is a responsibility of parents to pass on first-hand information to their children, because when children get this information from other people, they feel bad, and they lose the trust that they normally have to parents, and instead they start trusting those people who have supplied them with what? With information. So meaning that it is a responsibility of our parents, first of all, to know that sex and sexuality is very important as far as our lives are concerned. And two, that it is their responsibility to pass on this information to our children. And three, that we need to monitor the growth and development, to know that at each stage of growth and development, children understand certain things, and therefore they should also be given this information as far as the age appropriate is concerned.
You don't just throw everything.
Not everything. We give everything according to the age and understanding. The child may also be old, but may not be understanding very well. So we need to give them information that can adequately understand. Then 5, that where we think we have not done a good job, then we assign people to do it and do it better. But initially, it is our responsibility as parents to pass on this information, so that you have contacted the auntie, you have contacted the uncle, and say this child needs this information, so that they also do that information. And also find out from school, what do they learn at their age? Your child is of age. What have they learned at school? So that you know that, yes, you have given this information, but they are also benefiting this information. So that you also, but also go ahead to find out the information gaps. What does my child know about periods? And for the boys, you said, should the boys protect their sisters? Yes. Because if boys and girls, both of them knew information or had information about sex and sexuality, growth and development, and how certain things are going to come, then they would be in a position to tell their sisters. If something happened, maybe they would defend even against what? Against other people who are traumatizing or here jeering her up. But also, they would also keep on informing her. She would be, because the very class of parents that helps the boy should also be the same class that helps the girl to understand.
Yes.
But also, the boys need to know all these. First of all, that they need to know what happens in growth and development at any stage. What happens? Deepening of voice. What if there is a deepening of voice, growing of beards, hair in the armpits and whatnot, increasing in size of private parts? What about girls? What happens? They should be also in position to understand that ABCZ happens. Remember, some boys make girls pregnant, not because they know that they are making them pregnant, but because they are not informed at all. One bishop one time commented and said, if you must be a fool to have sex before marriage, don't be fool enough to have sex without a condom.
Yeah.
All of them are not necessary. All of them are sins.
Another person said you have no business having sex if you're not ready to be a parent.
Yes, absolutely. That is what it means. But again, most often, boys will say, no, I did not know that you are going to get pregnant. Yes, that is an information gap. So at the end of the day, a young man should know when someone has experienced periods.
What does it mean?
What does it mean? What does it mean for me to have sex with someone, even when it is prohibited? Because there is no culture in the world which allows sex before marriage. Despite the fact that, yes, we say don't have sex before marriage, it doesn't mean that people will not have it anyway. People are going to have it. But again, our concern would be that if people are knowledgeable, if people have information, if people know what they are supposed to do, most people are going to use information to make sure that they are on the safe side, despite the fact that others may not use it. So the responsibility for the boys, they should know, for example, it also goes up actually to marriage. Some people get married when they don't know exactly what to do with girls.
Yes.
When someone tells them, I'm experiencing my periods, and they have just wedded, the young man is just blank, does not understand what you mean. May actually interpret it as, say, this young girl is refused to have sex with me.
Yes.
And things may actually be bad right from there. That is an information gap. The same thing, they should know, for example, if it is family planning. For us counselors, if it is a couple, we pass you through different family planning methods, advantages and disadvantages of each, and also some side effects of some.
Yes.
And then as a couple, say, decide which one is a method for you. The same thing, if we are going to use family planning, there are what we call natural family planning, like safe days or safe days, but also moon beads. But if this young man really is not informed about the periods, when someone gets period, when a safe days, though they normally say safe days are never safe. It becomes a gap as far as family planning is concerned, assuming that they did not go to any specialist to be helped. So meaning that boys, all of us, the boys should be in a knowing side so that when they are going to do anything beyond what they are supposed to do, they know this, yes, there is something that is likely to happen. But they know that one happens when they are informed about sex and sexuality.
Aaron Tumusime, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, you can contact, how can people get this information, this beautiful information?
I'm a counseling psychologist and a consultant. I work with different organizations, and most especially on part-time, I work with Standard Chartered Bank.
Wow.
And I also work with Uganda Christian University. But I also go to Maldme Center, Uganda, and I have done consultancies for different organizations and companies. So when you approach me, my number is 0782 656658.
We'll be posting the doctor's number on our Facebook page so that you can call him, especially parents who are with children who are in their adolescent age. Some of them are still at school. I know the issue of sexuality is big. It's big, but very crucial, because it can either build or ruin the child's future. And of course, continue that discussion on our Twitter handle at Morning at NTV, and the SMS platform is 6565. Now, Tuka is standing by. Tuka, KCCA delivered yesterday. What, a privilege to be Ugandan yesterday. Is that what we expected them to do?
To be sincere to you, I expected a very comfortable win for KCC, though I'd reserved also anything if there was a shock. but fantastic performance from KCCA. That, of course, is one of the things we're going to be talking about. Formula One will be back this weekend. I have an interesting bit about the holiday that they do, the break actually, what exactly is done in the 4 weeks when they take this break, apart from, of course, preparing for the second round. And of course, we also have got some tennis to talk about, basketball, because we've got representation in the Zone 5. That and much more in a couple of seconds.
Well, in exactly 2 minutes, we'll be right back. It's 20 minutes on to 9. Stay with us.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Hello, doctor. Hello. Are you feeling okay today?
I should be the one asking you that.
Me, I'm very fine. I'm just calling to check on you. You're sure you're okay? No headache, no fever?
But you, man.
Okay, doctor. Just checking.
Make a call for whatever reason. Call someone, call anyone, and change your life. Make a call and you could win 100 million shillings, a car, or a smartphone with free data for a year. Plus, win 2 free minutes every day.
Airtel. Together we can.
Stand up to be counted. Brought to you by UBOS. It's your right.
You look worried.
Have these people of census also come to your house? Must they know all about my personal issues? Why not?
Mama John, being a single mother should not stop you from answering questions about your home and children. Women can ably answer.
Don't hide John and Mary from them. How will they know that such situations exist in our community?
And our leaders need to know our problems to plan for us.
Census is here. Get ready to be counted. Starting from 28th August to 6th September 2014. Together, we count. This message is brought to you by Uganda Bureau of Statistics.
Coming soon on NTV.
Dang, I suck at women. Because you can still think about her, but she's gone.
You should always approach a girl when she's surrounded by guys.
Attractive women are the most insecure. That's why they spend more time in the mirror than other women.
What if a needy people pleaser, desperate, forgettable, replaceable, boring guy?
And how to deal with the obstacle, her friend.
One thing I want is money.
Imagine.
I mean, how dare you come to me, all dirty and shabby, looking like a war truck from Afghanistan.
I've been given a challenge to go up to those streets, get enough numbers of very hot girls.
Excuse me, so what do you do apart from looking good?
0702.
0702.
Coming soon on NTV. On the next episode, brought to you by...
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
Kino kibeto tawanyene kitundu tukone ne kona ku NTV.
Abantu sibaba wagira nguzi naye tebawagira gavumenti ebigambo bibadde bingi ne ku Lwokutaano luno tugenda kujja lwamiti atubuuze kino nakiri nga naffe tumuwa ensonga zaffe n'olwekyo tubasaba temutusubwa mubeereko NTV ne koona ne NTV.
You can download movies at the lowest prices and never fast from Orange. Dial *133# to buy a data bundle. Happy hour changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
on to 9, and this morning joined by Brian. What's up, man? What's up?
Cool, man. Good to see you.
Mkulawa yamba de suti.
Impossible.
But
it's close to that. I'm wearing pants and a jacket.
And a jacket.
And a shirt, of course.
Something
I didn't wear yesterday. Something close to that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Nice to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Of course, Isma is away in Mombasa attending the basketball games. He'll be updating us. We'll probably try and get him on Skype tomorrow morning, and he can tell us what's going on. But safe travels. Isma left this morning.
Yeah, they left at about 5 o'clock with, of course, the team that Uganda has most top in, City Oilers. So about 5 probably p.m. or 6 p.m. they should be in Nairobi. Then after link up the next day in the morning to Mombasa.
Who are the other teams representing?
KCCA and UCU Lady Cannons for the women. And DMAC Power, sorry, not DMAC, sorry Power guys, because I've got a new sponsor, Tiger Head Power.
Tiger Head Power.
You might mad at me for that. And of course,
for a long time they were DMAC Power.
Absolutely, that's why it's hard for you to go. And they got a lot of success under DMAC, so that's why I still had DMAC in my head. But it's Tiger Head Power.
Close up.
Thank you very much. And the share, of course, every petrol
station.
Tiger
Head Power.
Tiger Head Power, they are called now.
Right.
Yeah.
Those 4 sides, will they finally break the FIBA Africa Club Championship?
I mean, it's been tough for us, and it's going to be, I think, tougher. While I thought we have a very good chance this time around because we have City Oilers, who have recruited very well. They are champions, first time of asking, coming from the lower division. And of course, they are very fortunate that they have finances backed by, of course, a couple of companies under the Mandela Group, Linglong, Enoch, Javas, and of course even City Hall themselves, and they've got guys who love basketball and they care so much about the team.
Nice.
But the tricky part about this is that they're not going to have their coach while playing for the first couple of games, unless they can qualify for the semis and maybe have the coach fly out on Friday and have him in the semi-finals. Why? Their coach is also a sports tutor at Kisu International School and has been not allowed to leave. Wow. Because they can't find a replacement for him in the meantime when he's away. And that's a tough ask for the players to play without a coach. Now they will be looking at different options. The management themselves clearly understand so much about basketball, but coaching is a different thing.
Yes.
They've got a couple of experienced players, Ronnie Kalure, Andrew Tendo.
Who may be coach players.
Coach players, exactly. And other players have a lot of respect for them. And most important also, one of the most intelligent basketballers in Uganda, Jeff Omondi, who could probably also work as a coach. So that's why the tricky part is. But I think if there's any hope that we have, City Hall should be leading that. For, I think, Tiger Head Power, they haven't represented it in a while. This time around, they feel they should do something. They got sponsorship from Tiger Head, and they're thinking, this just can't stop here, and they want to go. They've already played 2 friendly games. Yesterday they played Falcons, and the other day they played against Warriors. My worry for them is that they need to sit down and understand. If you're going to play against Urunani, an Espoir, probably Cobb Bank in Kenya. Those are tough teams to play against. Tactically, way up there. You've got to sit down and understand how do we play, how do we go about teams. You can't. It can't just be about running. I know sometimes it's tough matching the pace of certain players, but sometimes teams will figure you out. And once they do that, do you have a different, probably tactic to what you're using? Do you have another dimension to your play? And that's something they need to play. This business of having everyone pointing the ball. Power is the only team in this league you'll see a center is pointing the ball, and it can easily be tracked out. That's something they need to work on. But most importantly for them, they signed Abdullahi Ramadan, Dula, and Philip Ameni. Those are huge players for them if they're going to do anything at the Zone 5. Because Dula is one of the most experienced players in the region and one of the best. And once the curtains are closed, Dula, if we have anything like Hall of Famer, he'll be a future Hall of Famer in East African basketball. There is no doubt about it.
Right.
Philip Ameni, very good player, exposed enough. He's Kenyan, he's seen it all. He will help them. And then a couple of other players, Norman Brick, of course, everyone knows around East Africa. Ikong Joseph can come in and chip in with a couple of points. Paul MacGyver, the young boy, and of course, Azaka. So we wait and see what comes out. For the ladies, I've got huge worry. A huge worry for them because KCC have always done well. Finished third a couple of occasions, won once in other tournaments around the region. Intercities have always done well. And actually, they're going to be flagged off today. I'm meant to understand by the executive director herself at, I think, Global Hotel. My worry for them is that they don't have their, I think, very important players, 2 of those. Peace Proskov has also been stopped from traveling. The company she works for, Nick, I said she never informed them about all this, so they cannot let her. She's still in her induction. She's just gotten the job.
Wow.
Martha Soigi, who's the other center, I was told first, she told people she needs time with her husband, so she might stop playing basketball. But the other story is she's a heavy, so she cannot be playing.
She can't jump.
So she can't be traveling with the team. Those are huge misses, very big. Those are players are going to rely on who are tough to play against across the East African region, especially Peace Proscovia. Everyone knows her. She's improved under Timothy Odeke. The good thing for them, they've got a very good coach and experience in Timothy Odeke. They've got Flash Flavia, the best point guard in the country. Hopefully, they can try and probably cover these gaps, because Claire Lamono now has got to play 5 times better than she would have if Peace and Martha were around. For UCU, they don't have a point guard. They lost Angela Namirim. She left for Nairobi. She's doing low. And also, of course, she's playing, I think, for some other country. The other player that you should have used to replace Anja Namirum should have been Eva. She also got injured. She's not available. They've struggled on the point guard position. That's going to be tough playing against teams like ICIU from Kenya. Very good teams, and of course a couple of others from Rwanda. And they don't have their shooting guard, one of the best players at the moment. Actually, if you ask me, the best player in Morina Moding. She's staying around because she's got representation, she's got research work to do. So they've got to miss her. No point guard, no one. So the women's teams really are going to find it tough. Really, but we can only hope, because cases have always surprised us. They could do something. But City Hall, without even the coach, I think they should be Uganda's biggest hope.
Well, let's pray. We'll try and get Isma tomorrow to talk to us via Skype and just paint a picture of the current structure of the teams. Hopefully, all the 4 will be there tomorrow morning. But wow, some exciting news. KCCA doing us proud yesterday.
Yep, brilliant.
Did they get the message that this is not the time to play games?
First of all, at Labara have been very slow starters in the whole tournament, and KCC realized what had happened before. The other 3 semi-finals all had to be won on penalties. Police had to win on penalties. APR of Rwanda had to win on penalties. Elmerick won on penalties. Only KCC managed to win in the 90th. And they knew if we have a chance to avoid penalties and having risks of being knocked out on penalties, let's just get out of our blocks fast and furious, probably, if you want to call it so. And that's what they did. The minute they came out, they were very fast, pounded the Atlabara defense before they could get themselves ready. By the time they settled, it was 1-0. Brian Majwega opening the score, set up by Brian Omon. So the 2 Brians have been brilliant. And I think Brian Omon played his best game at the Sekafa yesterday. Scored 1, created 2. How he did not end up being man of the match, only Sekafa guys, it was Lukuya. Are you kidding me? This guy's got 2 assists, a goal, and you don't make him a man of the match? Only in Sekafa, by the way. Brian Omon will not get that.
I watched Lukuya talk.
And I'm thinking, okay, he does this
I think
thing.
he was also surprised.
He must have
didn't
been.
know what to say.
Everyone knew it was Brian Omon. But I think it was a good performance from KCCA. Brian Omon, of course, among the scorers, and the other one was Senkumba, also set up by Brian Omon, well-weighed pass on to a brilliant finish from Senkumba. I think now the real job might start for KCCA, because they're going to be facing Elmeri. Today is a rest day. They can go around here, absolutely. And and guess what? They are facing their former goalkeeper, Salim Magola, who was formerly at KCC. And of course, before that, Express voted Young Player of the Year, best goalkeeper in the first time when SuperSport are showing games. Now he's at Elmerick. And guess what? He served a penalty in sudden death for Elmerick to go through. So, and it's that good. So KCC are coming up against a very good goalkeeper. The worry for them, Yasin Mugabe, who's their number 1, went off injured. Elungat had to come on. We're not sure whether Salim Mugabe will be ready for the semi-finals. But I think at the moment, KCC enjoy the win. 3-1 it ended. Get ready for the semi-finals. And we'll be talking more, I think, of that probably tomorrow as we get ourselves ready for the semi-finals. But they should be doing the job. And they should be, I think, fired up after the performance.
Let me talk about Formula 1. The mid-season break is done. Does any team return from it to push Mercedes at all?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. They are ready. It all seems like, I think Mercedes will win the Constructors' Championship. The Constructors' Championship is the team points, where the both drivers finish, they get the points, put them together, then they give it to the team. I think it all looks certain they will win it because of the accumulation of points they've gotten. I don't see any other team. Now, for the drivers, I think while we can say it's about Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, I think Daniel Ricciardo has got a shout in there. Anything can happen in F1. If, for example, the two Mercedes got 2 retirements and Daniel Ricciardo wins, he could be closing up the gap. But you think Mercedes, this is their year, even the break might not be good enough. But some interesting thing about this break, they have a 4-week break. And guess what happens? After the first the first 2 weeks, they are not allowed to do anything, including a sweeper in the garage, including the guy who clears the tires. Nobody, actually, FIA and the Formula One authorities go and check those garages to ensure nobody is there. Everyone must go on holiday for 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, business can resume on working on the mechanics. And I was quite amazed by that. I was told the guys have to go to the garages also and check that there's nobody working. So the other 2 weeks is when they start preparing, improve the cars, and most of them have been doing. For Ferrari, it's been a struggle. There have been rumors of actually Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen leaving the team. But the Montezemolo, I think, has come out to say they are not going to leave Ferrari, and I think that will be good news for the Italian company. But at the moment, I think, Brian, for me, Mercedes are unstoppable. I just don't see anyone. They can try and catch up. It's Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg to lose.
Well, some employers can definitely borrow a whole tree to make sure that we don't work during our break.
After two weeks, you come back fired up.
Quickly, Brazil's second reign as Brazil, Dunga's second reign. He's going to be Brazil coach, but he started with recalling Felipe Coutinho. How much is he going to change the World Cup?
First of all, it's going to be a tough job for him. Brazil have fallen on hard times. They're not the Brazil you used to know. You remember Bastian Schweinsteiger talking about Brazil not being known for magicians. Now, whether they still have magicians, I'm not sure. Whether Felipe Coutinho can be considered a magician, I'm not sure, but he's got a lot of work to do. And what happens is when a new manager, a couple of old players want to take them out, start new, start afresh, and probably see how far you can go with the new ones. And that's why I think he's called up Felipe Coutinho. Felipe Luiz had never played for Brazil, yet he had a fantastic season with Atletico Madrid. Now he's at Chelsea. He's also been called up. I think he wants fresh blood to see how far they can go, and that's what they've done. And I think some of these players, if given time, for example, Felipe Coutinho can only become a better player under Brendan Rodgers and Liverpool because he plays a lot. Brendan Rodgers has a lot of trust in him. He allows him to do whatever he wants. He can only get better, and he can be important for Brazil. So the fresh blood, I think, is more of trying to change. But he says the door is still open for all the other guys. For as long as you convince, you have a chance in this Brazil team, but it's about fresh blood and see how far you can go. But Brazil have a lot of work to do. They need to start also rebuilding. Rare to talk about Brazil in terms of rebuilding because that's Ugandan stuff. But Brazil need to rebuild. They need to get the Rivaldos, Ronaldos, and Ronaldinhos once again.
Yes. Well, I can tell you no one remembers the success of Brazil. Only thing we remember is the thrashing.
Absolutely.
Of
They'll
Brazil.
never forget that.
They'll never, I can tell you.
Never, until they beat up on Germany, probably 8. And their first friendly is against Germany.
Oh my God.
The one they're preparing for.
They should beat them up like... Germany should allow Brazil to beat them.
Even if it's 10-0, it won't count. The other one is a World Cup semi-final. It's just a friendly, man.
Okay. At 1:30 p.m., are you going to be on Omumuli?
No, at 1:30 p.m. they will have, I think, Dennis Katumba, Alumasi David, and Alan Darin.
Okay. Catch those guys at 1:30 p.m. as they break it down in Omumuli. And my man, every Monday, 10:30 p.m. at Club Silk.
No dancing, we talk sport there.
Talk sport.
Monday, 10 p.m.
All right, you can catch them there. And before we leave you, check out your African proverb. Two hands do not fail to pull one grasshopper.
Yeah, 2 hands don't fail to pull one grasshopper. Simple. United, we do.
Stand.
United we stand. Thank you. I was about to say United we fall. United we stand because of United, of course. But United we stand. Divided we fall. It's that simple. Come, put hands together. You make great things, and I think that's something that I think we lack, especially in our country here. We don't like working together. Every time you see someone richer than you, all you want to do is fight them instead of probably joining hands, ask them, get a couple of probably words of wisdom, ask them how they got where they are, or see if you can work with them to get somewhere. It's the best way to do things, I think, because just imagine if you're Brian, you're the one who does the sports, the big story, I mean, what would it be like?
Hectic, man.
But every time you have some people you're working with, you learn every day. I learn something off you, you learn something off me, you learn something off Simon Cassette. Even everyone who's not on set, you learn something off a camera guy, someone who's directing the show.
This guy,
you've got to be even this guy here. This guy, it's shocking that actually I have to talk about him.
Yeah.
We need to pay me. Talk about you on air, everyone knows about you.
Tanzanian proverb, 2 ants do not fail to pull one grasshopper. Well, there you have it. And I don't know if we can get this. I really have to wrap up, but I have to give you this. I don't know if the cameraman can pull the screenshot. A Man United fan has called himself Mr. Manu. I don't know if you can zoom it in and see
Can it be seen?
But
I can see.
it's really interesting.
I've seen it. It's crazy.
And he put a tattoo of Manchester United
on his forehead.
On his forehead, and he's called now Mr. Manu.
He's changed his name to Mr. Manu. I mean, how much can you love your club? You're going through hell, and this is the time you put a Man United badge on your forehead. This guy loves United.
Yes, he's
He
loyal.
deserves something. He is. He should
He's
become
loyal.
the next Man United coach.
We'll put it up on our Facebook page. Totally, tested.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
Absolutely out of
fantastic.
this world. I've seen it. That's what they call loving your club. If you can get about 10 of those in this country, that'll be fantastic.
Well, Mwasuzemtia is coming up very, very soon, and Morning at NTV continues with Soul Moment. Continue discussion on our Facebook and Morning at NTV Twitter handle. And of course, go to the new and fresh website, www.ntv.co.ug. We'll catch you tomorrow. Stay safe.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Cassiati, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
NTV, turning on your world.
Use White Star Laundry Bar Soap with a lemon fragrance and you'll have a fresh, clean day. Be like a star. Use White Star. White Star Laundry Bar Soap. All day fresh clean.
Stand up to be counted. Brought to you by UBOS. It's your right.
Mom, why closing the doors and windows?
As if you don't know. Don't you see those people coming? They have been asking everyone questions in the village. I don't want to give them any information about us. You can't trust people nowadays.
We need to answer them.
Why?
They are collecting information that will help our community in the end. The information collected is used by our leaders to make informed decisions and plan better for all of us.
Census is here. Get ready to be counted. Starting from 28th August to 6th September 2014. Together, we count. This message is brought to you by Uganda Bureau of Statistics.
Hey, hello, Muna. Okobati. Go, yesterday's Rolex was for World Cup. But I was here wondering, what do you think came first? The egg or the chicken? Because me, I think the chicken came first and...
Make a call for whatever reason. Call someone, call anyone, and change your life. Make a call and you could win 100 million shillings, a car, or a smartphone with free data for a year. Plus, win 2 free minutes every day.
Airtel. Together we can.
It's Uganda's freshest infotainment game show, where 8 of the top regional schools face off in a fast-paced, entertaining and educative quiz show with chances for you to learn and earn lots of prizes. From Central Region, Mount St. Mary's Namagunga and St. Henry's Kitovu. From Northern Region, Apostle of Jesus Moroto and St. Peter and Paul Seminary Arua. From Eastern Region, Ginger College and Tororo Girls School. And from Western Region, Standard College in Tungamo and Intari School. It's The Challenge, powered by Bank of Uganda.
it's time for